And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called Space Freaks. Now, Space Freaks was interesting to me for a couple reasons. One, because it's called Space Freaks, and it has this very pink box. But two, I knew that when I read about the game, it's you are forming a character. I mean, if you look at the guy in the front of this box, you'll see he has a weird arm, he has hoof legs with a weird shield here, and then he's fighting someone who has a big tentacle. So you're forming your own character, putting pieces together. And you have these freaks, and they're in an arena, and it's like a game show, and everyone's running around as fighting each other. Well, that sounds really interesting to me. Let's see if it's any good. Space Freaks is played on this huge arena type board. Each person has a zone. Let me zoom in here so you can see. You have a dotted line. You have 3 different Space Freaks. Each of the Space Freaks is going to have a different colored base, just so you can differentiate. So one has your color, one has black, and one has a white colored base. And that's just so you can keep track of their hit points on your sheet. You're going to keep track of each of their hit points separately. So let's talk a little bit about building this. This happens at the very beginning of the game. Each person is going to be dealt randomly some sort of head. So this might say gamble, it gives me a special ability, or this one here, teleportation, or regeneration, or shift, whichever one I might get. So let's say I get manipulation. All right, change the Arena Master cards that comes into play once per round. So that's my special ability. Everyone then has the same deck of cards, and they're going to build their Space Freaks. So torsos are going to give you your hit points. So this one here is 14 hit points, adds 1 to the range. This one's only 12 hit points, but anytime someone hits me, they take 2 damage back. This one's 12 hit points with 2 armor. This one has 10 hit points, 2 armor, and adds 1 to my targeting. So there's different torsos you can pick. You're also going to pick a, well, let's keep my torso in place, I guess. You're also going to pick a arm here. So your right arm is your weapon. So this says I have a range of 2. I can do 8 damage to a human being and 1 damage to a structure type thing. This one here is a little bit stronger, but only has a range of 1. While this one is much weaker, but has a range of 6. So there are different kinds of weapons that you can have. Your other arm is just going to give you some sort of bonus. This one here gives you an extra armor. This one here gives you extra movement and increases your range. So each of these is basically just going to add some sort of benefit to you. Your legs are going to give you your initial movement. So you can see here, 9 movement and sponsor cards. Sponsor cards are like special weapons and things you can get. And this one here actually adds to your health. Or this one here is a really fast movement one. This one is slower, but gives me a lot of cards. So players are going to put together their things simultaneously and reveal them. You're going to put your 3 creeps in your zone, and the game is ready to begin. Players are going to have some sponsor cards in their hand, and these sponsor cards are all sorts of things, weapons and different things that they can attack with. And they're also going to have mission cards in their hand. Now on your turn, you're going to play one of your mission cards in front of you. This says, retrieve a prototype from the laboratory to the left of your home base. So if I was the orange player, here's the laboratory to the left. I need to get a prototype from there. If I do so, I'm going to get a point. This one, play 3 sponsor cards during the same turn. Have one of your freaks in the home base player zone of the player to your left, or I can get 2 victory points if I have 2 points. By the way, victory points are kept track on over here. If you get to certain levels in the victory point track, you can get more sponsor cards. So on my turn, I can move each of my freaks up to their full movement ability, just moving around through different hexes. Some hexes you can't move into. Some hexes will cause you damage. Some hexes will heal damage. Some will let you sponsor cards. The game comes with cubes that you can put next to each freak as you move them. It's possible over the course of the game that you will also control aliens and robots. You'll just put one of your bases on them. Alien robots have very specific stats that will be listed here. You also have turrets that you can sometimes place, or bunkers on the board that will defend you, and the stats for that stuff is down here. Each thing can attack once during its movement. When you attack someone, you have to attack them in a straight line in any of one of the directions and be within range of them. and you simply do damage to them, minus any shields that they might have. When you attack, you're going to use your base weapon, or if you have a sponsor card, you could use instead. So if I have a zapper, I can use this one here. I might have a rocket launcher. I can summon a new alien. So sometimes these will take the place of your attack. Sometimes there are other cards that you can do, plasma grenade, etc. When you're killed, you're removed from the board, and you'll come on at the end of your next turn. So your freaks just keep regenerating and coming on. Now, what are you doing to get points in this game? And that's listed here on the victory point track. Anytime you take out an enemy freak, you get a point. If you attack your enemy's base and damage it, you do a point. If you're in the landing zone hexagon at the end of your turn, you get a point. If you complete your missions, which is as you put a mission out each turn, you're going to keep adding more and more missions. Each turn you'll add one more. You're not going to probably always get the missions on your turn, but every time you do, you'll get points for that. And at the very end of the game, you get 2 points for each enemy home base zone that you're in. This is not the only side of the board. There is another complete different side with different things and lasers. It's just basically a different setup, but plays pretty much the exact same way. You're going to play the game for 6 rounds. At the end of 6 rounds, whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. The Space Freaks itself, I want to start out by saying I like the game. I think that it's fun. I think it could have been a lot more. Now, I believe that this game is meant to be a light game. You just run around and shoot at other people. But I feel like in some aspects it was a little heavier than it should have been. It's not heavy, but there's like a little bit of who goes next, and there was also some rules issues. The rule book itself was okay, but there's a couple things it didn't even mention, like the life points, and am I supposed to put black and white bases on my characters? It was a little confusing, but for the most part, the game is really simple. In fact, the game it most reminded me of is a game I played well over a decade ago, Frag, because you're just running around and blow someone up, and then that person comes back, and then they blow you up, and then they come back, and they blow you up. And if you're trying to take this game any more serious than that, you shouldn't be. You get the mission that says, stand next to another character. So you go stand next to another character. Build some robots. Okay, build the robots. Go here, do this. The missions are very straightforward. You do that, you shoot, different things happen. The joy of the game of building a character is really fun, but it's kind of disappointing to me slightly because you do that at the very beginning of the game, and then you're done. And the characters aren't that different. I mean, like you're talking about, do you want 8 movement and 3 cards, or do you want 7 movement and 4 cards? It's that kind of difference. I mean, and the weapons you start with are interesting. Most people picked a ranged weapon, and I think that's going to happen more often than not, because having a ranged weapon is, even though it does less damage, is usually better than having to run all the way up to the person to hit them. It does, and this just might be us, we felt it was a little overpowered, the hit back, because if you have 3 of your creeps together and someone hits them with an area control weapon, that's great, but they all do 3 damage back to the person, almost killing the person who shot them. That just seemed overpowered. It seemed really good. It was almost better to hit back, to have that rebound attack, than it was to have armor. But again, this is just minor stuff. You're drawing these missions. You go and you accomplish them. You have these weird weapons you pull out and you shoot at them. The Game Master there's a Game Master card turned over every round. It does some weird thing. I don't actually think I mentioned that in the rules overview, but there's a Game Master cards, so you're going to take one of these cards and turn it over each round, and it's going to affect the game. It's like the Game Master just decides what's going to happen in any round. So here he might say, all players get a droid or a turret under their control, or here, the damage from radiation hexagons, those are the ones you don't want to go into, is increased from 3 to 6. Or here, all freaks have an extra 3 range, or all freaks get 5 health. And all alien droid bunkers will heal back a little bit too. Or at the start of each player's cleanup step, all their freaks occupying the landing zone take 5 damage. So, that's interesting. It keeps things going, but you're never really quite sure what's going to happen. You're like, all right, let's go out there. Oh, that's what he said that's going on? All right, then we're going to do this turn. We made the radiation zones more deadly. Let's push people into them. And that's fine. You're kind of going with the flow. There definitely is a first player advantage by far, which I thought was odd that they didn't address that, because really, I shouldn't say there's as much of a first player advantage. There's definitely a last player disadvantage. You will literally likely have 1 or 2 of your guys dead on turn 1, and you get them back at the end of your turn. That's great, but that means your first turn isn't that spectacular. And that seemed a little odd to me that happened. But so what I'm saying here is this game could have been great. It has a great sense, right? get in there, run around and shoot stuff and kill stuff and blow people up. Okay, that's fun, and I don't mind that. I'm a fan of games like that, but I felt like the structure wasn't as tight as it could be. So I'm merely saying this is good, not great. If you're in that kind of mood and you want to build a character and run them around and get robots and aliens, it is cool. It's neat, and there's not a lot of games that do this. And I'm not a huge fan of the art either, though. I like the idea of putting the aliens together. This felt almost like 70s art, but I digress. You want to kill stuff, accomplish missions, and the mission part is good because they do tell you what to do, but you're going to be getting, you're never going to never get anything. Eventually you have 5 missions in front of you, and you're going to accomplish one of them on your turn. And then getting that equipment from sponsors, which are apparently taking a break from watching Katniss Everdeen and coming over here and giving you laser pistols instead, has that kind of feel to it. That's Space Freaks. It's a whole bunch of weirdness. It feels like a game that almost was designed 15 years ago, but I think a lot of people are still going to enjoy.
Dice Tower Judgment approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.